What up, y'all? It's your man, Abuamerican, out with the family, so if there's some background noise, understand. So, I want to talk about what we're looking at right now. There's a lot of books out there about the rise and falls of societies and cultures and peoples and nations. And we know that in general, nations last for roughly 250 years as an average before they collapse. Of the signs, a hallmark sign of the collapse of all nations are the things we're seeing in ours now. See, we like to think that because we're modern and we have more communication, whatever else, and technology, that things aren't, things are different now than they were in the past, but it's not. And one thing that's always taking place is the rise of entertainers, mass spread of higher education, the lack of national violence in terms of like invasionary tactics and turning to defensive tactics. There's an entire book on it. Maybe I'll post it on my, on the channel. But we're seeing these collapse. All the signs are there. Violence is also a part of that collapse. And we see it more than ever that Western society is losing the rule of law. This is part of the collapse, where there's no collective desire as a people to police and control criminals, either from the state or from people individually. And part of this comes from selfishness, where like historically they talk about the rise of like selfishness in the individual populace, where people focus on individual income as opposed to the collective of their society. Everyone likes to talk about ummah, but then there's really no ummah when we look at it, because we treat each other like absolute crap. So we have a society and a culture of people who don't really care about each other, even though technically we should be saying we are each other, meaning Muslims. The ummah, the one body mentality. But this isn't about ummah. This is just about Western society in general. And I want to make a general point, which is you should, because I saw a tweet today from someone who has followed me for quite some time. We've actually communicated, regularly over the years. He said, he finds it problematic that we're becoming desensitized to violence. And I dare say that we need to become desensitized to violence because it's becoming more widespread. If you are not desensitized to violence, you will become a victim to those that are. These are no longer times of enlightenment. We see an anti-knowledge, anti-scientific mentality and behavior taking place everywhere. Just look at gender ideology on its own. Makes no scientific sense whatsoever. They're saying science or social construct. We are not in times of intellectualism and higher achievement or whatever else. We are regressing to violence and savagery and barbarie until this cycle starts over again. Desensitize yourself to violence. Now, this doesn't mean that you have to become violent. This doesn't mean that you have to exact violence. But if you are not desensitized to violence, you will be hesitant to become violent when the need is there to protect yourself and your family. And we see this in a lot of places. We see this recently in India with the Christians getting attacked and killed and whatever else, all over the world, where people are getting destroyed, murdered, raped, all sorts of other stuff. Why? Because they're afraid to retaliate. You can't let that be you. I've been telling y'all for years, learn combat sports, gear up, get weapons, get whatever. I don't care how nominal it is. I'm holding it in my hand right now. You can't see it. It's a slingshot. And my wife is holding the phone while I'm walking with the slingshot. She can tell you, I have these like 10 millimeter metal balls. If I hit you with this, I'm telling you, you're a dead man. You will not live. A slingshot, people. Like David and Goliath, not the sword around your head, this type pull back, pull back and then shoot it, ping. Dudes, these things are lethal. I had no idea. For me, it's a toy. I like shooting at stuff, hitting little tiny targets, but I'm literally putting holes in metal with this thing. What will it do to your skull? Be ready, gear up with anything and everything that you can to defend yourself and your family. And don't be shy or afraid to put to use what you've learned or what you've purchased. Now, again, this is not a call to violence. This is not a call to go out and be violent. I'm saying when those who have no compunction about executing and exercising violence against you and yours, when they arrive, be similar. Do not be desensitized to the idea of harming someone who is there and has no intent of doing anything but harming you and your people. This is the only way that you're going to protect yourself. You're going to be used to yourself, your family, your community, your tribe, and you should be forming tribes in the real world. Absolutely get this mentality drilled into your head. Anyway, that's my take. Let me know what you think. It's your man, Abuamerican. I'm out.